Greetings. Today's presentation is titled Sustainable Fire Management and Carbon Sequestration in Kafue National Park, Zambia through Collaborative Fire Management Exchanges, a case study. It's by myself, McRee Anderson, Director of Fire Restoration in Arkansas, and Irene Muthunka, GIS Specialist in Africa. So the Nature Conservancy has been working in Zambia, Africa for over 15 years. We have an office there and a lot of staff, I think about 15 staff. Zambia is bordered by DRC in the north, Zimbabwe and Botswana to the south, and Angola to the west. It's a high plateau landscape, mountains, drained by some major rivers. And the Kafue National Park, the Kafue River is one of those. It's a beautiful place, 60 to 70 dialects, different types of dialects, very diverse culturally, and a beautiful place to work. Its elevation is 1,000 meters to 3,300 meters, nice cool temperatures with about 7 months out of the year wet, about 6 months out of the year wet, and then a distinct dry season 5 to 6 months. Incredible place. Zooming into the protected areas, Zambia is blessed with a big portfolio of large protected landscapes, including Kafue National Park. Kafue National Park is one of the iconic, large, undisturbed, protected landscapes in the world. Kafue National Park, specifically there in the dark green, is highlighted. The light green is game management areas or buffer areas around the park where village chiefs manage the lands with the communities. It's an incredible size of landscapes, about 22,000 square kilometers. 10 million acres is around the size of how big it is. You know, the vegetation community is Miombo woodlands, vast plains of grasslands, wet grass areas along riverine systems called dambos, and the ecosystem has very few interior roads, or what we would call, if you're talking about fire breaks, and a large population of wildlife, but it's been significantly reduced over the years, and as a result, fire is a large disturbance-driven factor in the ecosystem. You know, the Zambezi river system encompasses the Kafue River, which is one of the longest rivers in Zambia, and it flows right through the heart. The Kafue River flows right through the heart of Kafue National Park, and it's the major water source for all of the wildlife that and people that live in this incredible landscape. As I mentioned before, the landscape is made up of Miombo woodlands, an incredible deciduous woodland grassland ecosystem. And like I said also, that there's a wet season and a dry season, and in late May, early June, the system starts drying out. The rain stops, and then for a period of about 5 months, the landscape begins to burn, and it doesn't stop until December. And then about 8 million acres have burned on average. 60 to 80% of the landscape burns annually, equates about 1 million acres a month. So it's incredible. I want to invite my colleague, Irene Muthunka. She's the GIS analyst for Africa Nature Conservancy, and it's been an honor to work with her on this project, and she helps drive all of our on-the-ground operations based on her fire analysis. So with that, I'll turn it over to Irene. Thank you.
Thank you, McRee. We'll go straight into it. I'll show the extent of fire within the Kafue ecosystem and how it has had effects on biodiversity, community who border the national park, and the Kafue River. Now, taking a snapshot of fire detections in 2020, we see almost every part of the Kafue National Park burned. These are fires that occurred between the month of April all the way to the month of November, both late and early season fires. The game management areas show smaller scale fires due to populations in those regions. Here is a table showing the annual fires for the last 10 years. Looking at this table, we can say thousands of hectares have burnt, and when compared with 2017, 2018 and 2019, the 2020 fires seemed higher in most parts of the game management areas, but that number is slightly lower in Kafue National Park. Let's dive deeper into the early and late season fires. Early fires occur in the months of April, May, June, and July, while late season fires occur in August, September, October, and November. So in this map, we have early and late season fires represented. And in 2020, 68.7% burned, which is over 1.5 million hectares. Taking a closer look at the early season fires, there was a 36% burn in 2020 compared to 54% in 2019. This means there was a lot of early controlled burns conducted in 2019 unlike in 2020. And here is a table showing the game management areas and Kafue National Park percentages. And you can tell there is no standard trend. Some of the game management areas had higher fires than others. And here is a line graph depicting the fire trends for April through July 2020. And you can see between 2019 and 2020, the line graph changed the course. Now, let's talk about the late season fires. These are fires we discourage because of their destructive nature. They are more intense, extreme, and cause severe loss of biodiversity. We advocate for early season burns that reduce fuels that would cause destructive fires later in the year. Now, comparing 2019 and 2020, it's clear that 2020 experienced greater magnitude of destructive fires at 33.6%. Here is a table tabulating the late season percentages for the last 10 years. Still, there is no standard trend, but the focus is on reducing fuels by conducting controlled burns between the month of April to July. And here is a line graph to help visualize the trend of the late fires over the last 10 years. The other component we look at is the fire history, specifically the areas that have had constant burns every passing year. This helps us plan where to put more efforts and to implement the interventions. And it also helps with predicting the future and planning accordingly. I will now hand over to McRee to continue.
Thanks, Irene. Appreciate it. So now we're going to talk about climate change, wildfire implications to stock carbon stocks in the Miombo woodlands. As I mentioned before, the landscape's wet to dry. 800 millimeters to 1,000 millimeters of rain occur annually. As the landscape dries out, Miombo burns. The carbon stocks that we're trying to assess are in the forests and in the Miombo woodlands. So they're in the trees and the size of the trees. And so with that, we're trying to figure out the best strategies based on fire history to begin thinking about how to monitor and manage it. In 2018, we did a carbon inventory, and it's ongoing, where we went out and mapped areas that had late season fire, and then we wanted to see the size of those trees based on late season fires and early season fires over time. I can't get into all the details, but we did some basically tree DBH analysis and carbon stocks. You know how climate change comes into play, the tropical front comes in, there's more variable weather, there's heavier rains, longer dry seasons, so more rain in the early season, and then longer dry seasons, which makes for, you can see it in the data, it makes for longer late season fire events. As a result of these late season fire events, more frequent fire, it changes from woodland to grassland because the fire intensity and severity increase. You know, these late season burns, they reduce the tree density, they reduce the cover, there's less shade, there's more sun, more grass, and as a result the fire intensity increases, and the trees continue to get top killed and degraded, losing our significant carbon stocks throughout the landscape. And this is just a typical conversion area where the hot season fires have opened up big holes in the canopy, and then you have resprouting that's at the forest or ground level, and nothing else will it won't get up to scale or height because of the early season fires and late season fires are on an annual basis. And so for the fire management strategy, fire management trainings and early season burning, an early burning program helps create, idea that there's discontinuous altered fuel loads across the landscape that reduces the scale of the late season intensity and severity, therefore preserving and conserving carbon stocks. So over the years, we've been doing fire management training workshop annually, and this is the goal here is to train up everybody in the landscape that on the same page about fire management in a way that builds partnerships and a shared vision for the landscape. During these trainings, we develop burn plans, crew organizations, ignition. So this is operational fire management as well as fire ecology and strategy. It's a week-long course, and so during the mornings we do presentations and discussions, and then in the afternoons we develop crews and we go out in the field under the guidance of our partners, and we do practical early burn and operational tactics. Another objective here is to help build a fire equipment cache across the landscape. Like I said, it's huge, and so there's people and partners working in really remote areas, and so just simple tools, bladder bags, flappers, drip torches, kitting out a group of 3 or 4 people can go a long ways in helping develop early burning goals and objectives for a particular place. Another objective is developing an early burn program for different areas. This has allowed the teams to think about planning their early burns and the goals and objectives of their early burns, and where the late season fires are coming, and how to manage those late season fires with an early burning program. This is a national park full of all the large megafauna that we would experience in an African savanna tropical landscape, and so there's lots of operational hazards. And I just wanted to highlight that part of the reason fire management is so crucial for the landscape is because these animals need their ecosystem to function in a way that provides them habitat, cover, and a future for their offspring. But it's an incredible place, and the scale of the fires has significantly impacted the wildlife. One of the central strategies with the national parks is also working with lodges who are out there in the landscape, managing areas for their clients and their visitors. And it's important for us to work with people in the field that are in the bush and threatened by late season wildfires. These lodge operators have large landscapes that they do wildlife viewing, and they are threatened by wildfires, so they do early burning, and they also to protect from their structures, And they also do early burning to attract game for visitors to see, because after a burn, it greens up and it's fresh grass for the grazers. So fire is an integral part of the tourism business in the lodge community. Another objective is developing an early burn team, and a team that can move around and help lodges as well as help the national parks conduct their early burning workload, where they're trained up and they can assist, because a lot of people in the landscape, don't have everybody trained up that can manage the fire. So an early burning team and teams is a crucial component for the management of fire in the Kafue National Park. Well, we'd like to thank you for sticking with the presentation virtually, and hope that you learned something and had some good ideas. And if you have good ideas on the way forward with us related to strategy, please reach out. We're eager to learn as well. So thank you, and enjoy your day.